Okay, so I have a fresh copy of Kali, and this is how I set up the RTFM program. In the framework directory is where most of the scripts are. And this is a fresh copy, so I'm going to run the setup script first. And it's just going to install a bunch of stuff that I use, and some are required for this program. So I'm actually going to pause this video because this takes a while, and I'll come back. Okay, so once it's done installing, it may take an hour or two because Kali is a rolling operating system now, so it basically downloads and updates the entire operating system, which may take a while. So if you wanted to skip that, it's not necessary to run that. I just put everything into the script because I was tired of installing a new copy of an operating system and then trying to set it up every time. So the other thing you need for this to run is libnmap, so you can just run this command, and colorama. And both of those are used for Kali, well, Linux and Windows, and this will run in both. Okay. We need Python 3, and I have a debug session, so we'll just use that one. So this is what it looks like, and this is the session name. Some quick settings, option 8. What kind of operating system we're working with, what's the session name, what is the IP address, and we can change that since that IP address is not on my network anymore. Yeah, 120. Yeah. Okay, so change the IP address. That's pretty important. This option is not used anymore, so I'll probably take that out. This option, you know, it'll output any of your tool output to a different terminal if you wanted to. You just specify the device. That's all. This is an option I'm still working with to automatically do image capturing screenshots. Default password lists, so when we run tools or an automated attack, it'll say, okay, well, this is a web server, so what is my default password list, whatever. So if you want to run a tool that's going to use a password list and the tool doesn't ask you, you can just change it here. So setup menu, this is the actual setup Python script. So if you didn't want to run everything, which is essentially option 29, you can just run bits and pieces of it, and it'll save you a lot of time. So attack flow, one of its strengths is the remote enumeration. So just some canned solutions for nmap, some aggressive scans, standard scans, stealthy scans. If we have a scan file output already, we can parse that, and when we parse it, it reads it into the system, and it'll keep a list of services and ports that are open, and that helps with writing making the report. This will generate a simple report, and then doing automated analysis as well. So, and also when we do a scan, it'll parse that file and put it into the system. So the session saves all the information for you. Some Nico options, Wireshark options. This is console. Some other enumeration tools, TCP dump for the fun of it. I just use T-Shark typically for whatever reason. Local enumeration, so the purpose of that is these scripts should be able to copy onto a machine that you're trying to pivot from or trying to gain higher level access, so this will just do local enumeration. The exploit menu I don't really use a whole lot now that I have custom tools in here, and I'll show you that later on, but these tools are still fine. You can access them somewhere else though within this program. Same thing with maintain control. I don't really use this menu very often, so I'll probably remove it at some point. Some other files that it generates. It keeps track of all the commands that you run. I showed you it keeps track of the checklist, and it also keeps track of the target hosts in general in a markdown file. So you go to report. So there's our checklist again. Here's all the commands that we ran. Wouldn't include this as just example markdown that I've had, but here's the commands that we just ran, and this is in a markdown format as well. And then just some general information that we have on the host. This was a previous host I used. I think this was a Metasploitable host I had locally. So this was just like Derby I ran, whatever. And we can add various notes as well, and I've used this quite a bit for my report taking. Keeps track of the directories it finds. This would be a table of the services that it has. Let's see here. Okay, so we can take notes on a machine as well. Let's see, what do I do? Add note. There we go. So notes are there, saved in the session, and it's in our report. There we go. These tools and categories are taken directly off of Kali's page, tool page. So here's the categories, and here would be the tools. So information gathering, this should probably be in alphabetical order, I'd guess. Let's see. So here's the tools right here. You can run it, you can get info on it on number 1. There's a description, how to run it. We'll just run number 1, and this is whenever you run a command, it's highlighted, and you have an output file. It'll run it in the background, and it'll tell you when it's done. And we'll save the session. We'll go back into our session directory, and this is the output of various tests that I've done with this session. So whenever we run SearchSploit, it'll save the results in here, and it'll also save possible, well, and we have a custom search as well, possible attempts. So if I look for IS6, it'll download all the possible exploits. Let me show you. This is a custom tool, so this would actually be in the custom tool class, Python source. There is a link between nmap and SearchSploit, so we can run SearchSploit based upon nmap results. From my experience, it shows a lot of things that are not relevant, so I ended up just making this one, so I use option 20 more than anything else. So IS7. Okay, it's found 77 possibilities, possible attempts, IS7, and there's all of our exploits that it downloaded. So our templates. This just is used for automating attacks. So once you do an enumeration, it has a list of ports and services that it has. You just choose maybe option 1, and it'll just go through everything and try and brute force stuff. And if it sees like there's a web server, it'll do more enumeration based upon in-map scripts, things like that. So it just does a lot of the low-hanging fruit, and it'll do it in the background. So you don't have to worry about it. You can go about doing other things while this does other scans and brute forcing and things like that. Let's see. I don't have option 1 done yet, word list creator, but I have cool in one of the custom tools, and that's all I've been using actually. So reverse shells, I've used this quite a bit, just to create a list of reverse shells based upon an IP address and a port. So I'm going to reverse back to my port, I guess, my IP. I'll use port 443, and just a quick, run this command to open up a port, just in case I forget, I guess. And then in our directory, let's see here. Oops. Debug in exploits. It creates all the shells for us. There we go. So just a quick description of what it is. Here's the code for it. Same thing, just some various reverse shells based upon what I found online in different languages. Yeah, whatever. Alright. That is the workshop. Okay. Checklists. A pretty important piece that I've put in here, and I've recently made it data driven, so it might be a little buggy, but just some standard things I would want to look into if I find, for example, a host with Samba running it. We'll say option 13. It's giving me, there's a list of things to check, and it'll tell me, okay, I've already done enumeration, I've already done a null session check. Have I ran these commands to do a lookup or whatever? I can add notes to it if I wanted to. I can run a command straight from here, or I'm just going to say no, I'm going to skip this and check for MS08067. Yeah, I have done that, so I'll just say yes. All right, I'm done for now. Okay, and it'll pick back up where I left off, and I actually skipped a step, so it should go back to number 3. So that's nice. Actually, 00 will quit and save, and if we go back in here into reports, creates a markdown for the checklist, and we see I've done enumeration, I've done a null session check, I skipped step 3, checked for this, so there it is right there. So yeah, checklists have been very helpful. Specific tools, this is probably the biggest piece of this tool. This just basically is a big, think of it as a wizard for all the tools that Kali has. So some other notable files. Custom tools I have here. Here's our checklist, and I've written a tool to create checklists and add more tools. I'll show that in a different video, but our checklist is just a bunch of JSON files. That's all it is, and this is the SMB checklist that I went through. Let's see here. The tools, this is for Linux, this will be for Windows. At some point I was going to add tools from Pentest Box, but there's a lot less tools in Windows obviously than there would be in Kali. Here's the Kali list, and this is what's rendered in the tool. So it just reads this and then renders those options. Let's see. Otherwise, anything more complex than what you'd see in here, I'll just open this up again. Anything more complex than this, it's a pretty simple template, right? You just add it manually, and custom tools is a good example of that. SQL map. SQL map has a lot of options, so I just went ahead and just coded it. So inherits from tool, name description, the thing that you would see that's outputted in the program, all of our options, and then there's a specific run command right here. They all have a run command, and they'll just go through and run our specific logic for that tool. So any complex tool, I just went ahead and coded it. I use this tool quite a bit. This was what we used, the custom tool. So there's the name right there. That's how we search for it. I'll show you real quick. Here it is right there.